Hello. Hey, it's Billy Boyd here. You might know me from Lord of the Rings, or maybe Master and Commander, or maybe Outlander, if you're a fan of time-travelling love stories in Scotland, or maybe something else. Anyway, I just wanted to quickly wish my mate Sean all the best, and have a great show along with Joe Jaffe. I know it's going to be a fantastic show, and I'm sure that you will enjoy whatever these two wizards have to say. See what I did there? Two wizards. Hey, have a great show, Sean. All the best. Bye-bye.
Am I being overconfident? Am I becoming complacent about complacency?
I think you are.
Oh, he's not the Messiah, he's just a very naughty boy.
Yeah, I've got big ears.
Brian just wanted to see anyone piss off.
That's the one, because you literally complete me, and we complete each other.
You've obviously encountered discrimination in your own life by virtue of being Australian. So
Hey, Manuel Kant was a real pissant who was very rarely stable.
I don't want to get too gushy, but I might just be saying you complete me, Dean. PNG now stands for Pritchard and Good.
Branding is not a bad blind date.
Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're
How
insane!
did I do that?
You're insane!
Well, hello everybody. Happy Monday. Happy February 15th. It's not Valentine's Day. In fact, it is Saint Skeletor's Day. It is Saint Skeletor's Day, you numbskull. Do you know what Saint Skeletor's Day is? I am going to keep you guessing. I'm going to just wait for you to figure out. Maybe I just want to know. Don't cheat. Just tell me if you know what Saint Skeletor's Day is. Tom Morris's great opening segment video greeting. Jessica Joins is here. What's up, Sean and Jaffe? My mom is here. I'm glad you're watching. Ma, do you know what Saint Skeletor's Day is? I'm going to let you guys figure it out while I keep moving. Well, let's get into fact blogging. And Sean, I know you're in the background, so I am checking out the quality. It's a little blurry. You know, I'm looking on my LinkedIn as well. It says my internet connection is a little unstable, which is weird because, first of all, I am a little unstable at the best of times. I think everybody knows that. But in addition to that, I'm plugged in directly into the router. But you know what? You just take it on the chin and you roll with the punches. But let's get back to fat blogging. I lost a little bit of weight. I'm happy to say 3.7 pounds. Two things happened in terms of me losing a little bit of weight. First of all, I cut down from half a bottle of red wine every night to one glass. I'm just being honest with you. I'm admitting it. And the other thing is I've gone back to intermittent fasting. So, you know, I was having a black cup of coffee and then a cup of tea with sweetener and fat-free milk or skim milk. Now 2 cups of black coffee in the morning and then 20-hour fast until I break it as well. And hopefully I will be back on where I need to be, right? Which is back to about 181, 182 pounds. So let's see what happens. You know who else is back? Leslie Laredo is back from her training, her mega sales training, workshop, webinar, whatever she was doing. But I'm glad you're back, Leslie. We missed you. CoronaTV missed you. Well, let's keep moving on with the show because today we have the man who was in the room where it happened, where it happens, where it will happen, the mover, the shaker, the master chameleon, Mr. Sean Finnegan. And it's going to be so good to catch up with him. Anne Janzer is here tomorrow. And then 2 returning guests, Lodro Rinsler and Mark Schaefer are back. I'm so happy that, you know, people are coming on the show and they want to come back. They want to come back to promote their books or to have another conversation. To me, that is the equivalent of retention. Retention is the new acquisition. If you cannot, who do you begin with when you are creating a show? You begin clearly with your audience, with the community, with people that are out there like saying thank you to Leslie, or Timothy Murphy is talking about drinking Corona, no drinking red wine, or Tom Dearline is here, Jamie Thompson. Tom says Hamilton. Yes, of course, Hamilton. But the most important place to begin, Quinny is here as well. No way. Anyone else watching while furniture shopping? I'm actually furniture shopping right now, Quinny, while I'm doing the show. And I just saw that you joined Clubhouse as well. So I'll show you around if you need to. But my point is, you begin with your guest. If you make your guest feel like $1 million, then that's the place to start. And that's the place that I started. And I better move on. Otherwise, I'm not going to make my guest feel like $1 million. So another quick ad just to let you know, this week I'm doing 4 rooms, not the room, maybe the room where it happens, but 4 rooms on Clubhouse, starting today with brands on Clubhouse, then pivoting, the reinvention of brands, careers, and life. My startup commitment on Wednesday, which is balancing mission and profits. And then we're doing the entire after show on Thursday with Mark Schaefer in Clubhouse. So there you go. Let's do some birthdays quickly. Happy birthday on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Jason Hoff, let's see, Julian Aldridge. Come on, you Spurs. We're going through tough times. One of my first bosses when I arrived in the US, Richard Bonner Davies. Robin Kent is there. Bob Heyman, previous guest on the show. And Laura Gassner-Otting, happy 50th. You look amazing. You are amazing. Another previous guest on the show. So happy birthday to Laura. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And then just, we'll skim through them as well. Itzy Schwartz, Steve Way, John Mandel, A.B. Lemon, Andrew Porter, Teresa Nasi, Byron Morgan, Ryan Wilson. Happy birthday to you guys. Did anybody figure out what Saint Skeletor's Day is? Anyone? No one? Let me tell you what it is. Saint Skeletor's Day is a day for single people. It's a day for all those who didn't have a date or get any flowers yesterday on Valentine's Day. And it's basically the antithesis of Valentine's Day. It was created in 1998 by British comedian Richard Herring. The day takes its name from Skeletor, the villain from Masters of the Universe. Why? Because it's pretty much certain that he didn't celebrate Valentine's Day. So there you go. Now you know what Saint Skeletor's Day is. And you know what? I hope you had a good day yesterday. I hope you were someone's Valentine, or, ultimately you made someone feel special as well. Well, let's get into our seated soliloquy before we bring on Mr. Sean Finnegan. And today, the seated soliloquy is just simply called Morph. So let me ask you a question. What's your spirit animal? Whilst mine is the assassin bug, today I want to shed the spotlight on another favorite of mine, the chameleon. The context I apply to spirit animals is what I call the survival instinct, which is built upon a foundation of 2 key pillars, self-preservation and adaptation. The chameleon is one of those exceptional and special creatures because it does both at the same time. By adapting to its surroundings, it is both dynamically changing and ensuring its ability to live to fight another day. But what can we learn from the chameleon? For starters, there's no harm or shame in blending in, fitting in. We seem to place a premium on standing out from a crowd. After all, the entire marketing world pivots around differentiation and breaking through the clutter. Distinction, as Scott McCain would say, creating signal from all the noise. Over the course of the past year or so, the notion of servant leadership is starting to gather and gain momentum. Traits like humility and empathy are becoming more valued than confidence and self-assuredness, which we often associate with arrogance or hubris. Maybe this is the dawn of a new era, the era of the introvert. As the saying goes, silence is golden. And we've all been in plenty of meetings where the smartest person in the room is the one who listens, learns. And when they speak, everyone pays attention. That's the leader. And then there is the ability to move with the times, adapt, take on the equivalent of Jim Carrey's rubber face that adjusts and morphs into an uncanny likeness of sight, sound, and motion of his unintended victim. With a hat tip to the X-Files, we need to be shapeshifters as well as blending in. In the agile era, we need to adapt or die trying to adapt. Emulating our surroundings is not imitation. If anything, it is flattery. But moreover, it is both a survival skill that keeps us on our toes and one that truly makes us and keeps us alive. In our day-to-day lives, we might not face our day like the chameleon, where every encounter, interaction, business meeting, or pitch is viewed as life or death. But perhaps we would do well to recognize and reflect on the real enemy, atrophy, getting stuck, getting set in our ways. So take a leaf from the chameleon, and if it ain't broke, break it, mix it up, keep it fresh, keep them guessing, and don't live to fight another day, fight to live another day. Well, now it's time to be truly alive with my guest, Mr. Sean Finnegan. And, you know, Sean is a famous person. And I'm going to just give you a little bit of an introduction, a long introduction, because he's a very accomplished guy. But I have a feeling one or two of his famous friends might be still dropping by. Sean Finnegan brings a veteran's perspective to digital media, mobility, and social interaction, and he has held global digital leadership roles at major agencies, including CEO of Omnicom Media Group's digital unit and president and CDO, Chief Digital Officer at Publicis' Starcom MediaVest Group. Sean is currently co-founder and partner of the Chameleon Collective, a 5-year-old global strategic consultancy focusing on the media, entertainment, retail, and technology sectors. Through Chameleon, Sean has incubated 2 new companies, the first called The Room, a weekly international event series for senior marketing executives that focuses on the 3 C's of connection, content, and commerce. The second is Union, which identifies, collaborates, and activates creators that strategically align with a brand's purpose and objectives. Finnegan has been named an American Advertising Federation Hall of Achievement inductee, Advertising Age, Media Maven, Media Week, and MediaPost All-Star. He serves as co-founder and board member of the Tom Dearline Foundation, an organization dedicated to helping provide U.S. military families and children with their most basic living needs. And of course, Tom has been on the show before. So before we bring him on, let us go to the videotape and one more of his famous.
Hey guys, Anthony and Michael Hall here. Just want to give a quick shout out to my longtime buddy, Sean Finnegan. And congratulations on your good showing on Joe's CoronaTV, Sean. That's great. Sean's the man, business leader, demented and sad, but he's social. All the best to you guys. Keep rocking, Sean.
Demented and sad, but he's social. That probably explains about 97% of all the people we know, right?
Exactly.
Welcome to the show, Sean.
Thanks for finally having me. I mean, you had Tom on here. I was waiting for my invitation, so it took long enough.
You know what they say, good things come to those who wait. That's why everybody, and I mean everybody, wants to be guest number 205. Do you know the significance of the number 205?
I don't.
Nor do I, but I'm just wondering if you did.
Well, it's going on my bio that you can read the next time. So it's definitely an achievement. So
well, that would be amazing to say. And he was guest number 205 on Corona TV.
You've made it.
So let's see who is here. Tom says hilarious, weird science. I mean, you know, and by the way, these guys, they're not. We're going to talk about Cameo, but according to what you told me, these guys are your friends, your real friends, not your fake friends, not your virtual friends.
Yeah, somehow over the course of my career, I've accumulated a few celebrities that have just turned into friends organically, and I've known Anthony Michael Hall is if you know anything about his background, the structure of his name is actually in reverse. It's Michael Anthony Hall, so he goes by Mike. So I've known Mike for over 20 years now, 20 plus years, and great guy. And just got the good news yesterday. He's coming. You can look it up on IMDb. He's coming into town here next month. He wrote a sort of a prequel, I think it is, to The Breakfast Club that he's he's writing and producing and acting in as well. So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, you know, tell him he's welcome to swing by Corona TV anytime. And by the way, Timothy Murphy says 205 is better than 206. So, you know, can you imagine if you're guest number 2,500 on Corona TV?
Hey, I hope you make it. If there's anybody for 2,500, Murphy's your man. So,
all right. Yeah. Tim Murphy, consider that invitation extended to you. Mary Ellen Delaney says Sean Finnegan is epic. That must be an abbreviation or an acronym for something. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
It's a secret joke between Mary Ellen and I. It's our Irish connection. You don't want to know that acronym.
Well, you know, I will say, and we'll get to it later, when I was looking for Sean Finnegans on Google search, there are a bunch of very skivvy looking Sean Finnegans, I might add.
Yeah, I have, as we probably all do, or maybe I'm the only narcissist here, but we have the Google alerts on our name, and typically every day I get one, and it's usually some Sean Finnegan that got in a bar fight in Dublin last night. But yeah, there's been some mass murderers recently, and that's been sort of gumming up my my profile. So anyway.
Well, the only murder taking place with you is how you are killing it right now with your entrepreneurial ventures, which we'll get to soon. There are a bunch of people here that are sending some props your way and love. Nick Johnson says Sean is a tough negotiator, still have the marks from UPS. So there you go, the battle scars.
It's my Ditka pal, Nick Johnson.
There you go, Ditka indeed. So we will let people continue to comment. But Sean, I always like to find out some things about my guest or guests. And what's really been interesting, and I have to say what's been amazing for me is I've really gotten a chance to know people that I actually thought I knew, but really had no clue who they were. So let's talk about Sean Finnegan. Sean Finnegan, this is your life. These are some interesting, fun facts about you. So first of all, let's go with the fact, I mean, who knew that you actually tried out for the Yankees? And this is why I chose the younger version of you, Sean. And you played professional beach volleyball. I had no idea.
Yeah, thanks for using my 15-year-old picture. That we had some fun on LinkedIn with that. Yeah, 50 pounds ago. I saw your fat chart. I should probably do. I think I found the weight you lost, Joe. So congrats on your reduction. Yeah, I played ball in high school and semi-pro in college, and had a unsuccessful tryout with the Yankees, which is a good thing. And then, yeah, I picked up volleyball in high school, and it became an official high school sport my senior year. And I gave up baseball to play. It's the same season. And then I just, it's every once in a while you just, whether it's sports or professional, or anything in your personal life, sometimes things just connect. And for some reason, volleyball was my sport. So I ended up going from there, playing Junior Olympics and club, and then played a bunch of professional beach tournaments too. So it was fun. It's great. I'm only 5'10", but and I've got all these sons that are like 6'3" and can jump but I was able to. I used to have some hops, Joe. So
yeah, I mean, I don't doubt it. You've certainly leapt to incredible heights. What position did you play? Were you a pitcher?
Oh, baseball. I was a catcher.
Amazing. Well, look, found out something interesting about you, and here's Robert Nosworthy, and he said, a Murray State University graduate and a supporter of our internship program, giving back.
Nor's, great Omnicom legend, and actually moved down back to Murray, and is holding down the fort down there and getting all those good kids into the Omnicom and advertising industry. So good job there, Norse.
And talent is certainly and always will be an absolute priority. Now, here's a question for people that are watching, because Mr. Sean Finnegan won a country music star lookalike contest in New York City. Don't reveal who. So I'm asking you guys, can you guess who Sean Finnegan looks like or looked like? And I will say I do not know country at all very well, but I have taken a guess, and I will reveal my choice shortly. But if you have an idea who Sean looks like or looked like, please put into the comments. And while people are thinking about it, one more interesting fun fact about you is that you have 40 count them bodies, thankfully all living. Are they all human, or they're animals as well? Currently on property now.
Well, it's a combination of human and animal, but the human percentage is still pretty large. So we have so just up until recently, we had all of our children. If you don't know this about me, we have 7 children, 5 boys, 2 girls. And say boys and girls, but they're adults now. Hunter, he's actually here. He works in Nike marketing now. And then we've got 3 in college: Claire, Morgan, and Logan. And then we've got some other ones running around here too. But yeah, this in addition to the children, my wife decided that we were going to become chicken farmers. And so we live out here in Chicago, where you can have some space. And I came home one day during the summer, and I don't even know if we own a hammer, but I came home and they were building something on the outside of our coop, or our shed, and there was a chicken coop. And so we've got about 20 chickens. If we're connected on Facebook, you'll see once in a while I will be Farmer Finnegan, and I'll take some of my very intricate chicken knowledge and convey it to whoever's going to be listening or interested. We have that, but then we also have 3 big dogs, 2 fish, and 2 iguana as well. So a lot of bodies here.
And does an iguana qualify though as a chameleon?
It does. Actually, one of them, interestingly, oh boy, make this short, but I have this football friend, Brett Favre, who he always makes my life interesting. And he sent up a football or a helmet, a signed helmet. And I think he gave me a bunch of them. We gave them away at the Tom Deerline Gala. And one of them had an iguana in it. It actually literally was in the box. So I went to go ship it. I think I was shipping it to my buddy Heidi Browning. And they called me back and said, sir, we can't ship animals. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I went there and got the iguana. $300 later at Petco, it's up in my son's room, and he's named it Favre. And so
Favre, right?
Favre.
Favre. Yeah. All right. So let's look at the guesses. They are coming in thick and fast. We've got a Blake Sheldon, which I think is probably connected to Blake Shelton. Just kidding, Leslie. We've got a Garth, which I assume is Wayne and Garth, right? Because as I said, I know.
Minus the beard, still the double chin, black curly hair that I almost had.
We've got Brad Pitt, so you can send him his dollar later. Nick Johnson says Taylor Swift, which might have been my guess. We've got a Clooney as well. Yeah. We've got lots of Blakes and Garths, and
been drinking already. It's a holiday, so I guess.
Should I show you my guess?
Yeah, please.
That was my guess.
Now, would you like the answer?
I would like the answer.
It is none other than Vince Gill.
Vince, I have no idea who that is, but I'm going with Blake Shelton. This is a good. I think this is a good lookalike. What do you think?
He's a good looking man. I'll take it. That's an upgrade.
So we'll see if we can get him on Cameo to respond, and I think he'll give that that Danny DeVito, no, not Danny DeVito, Arnold. Yeah, I guess it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito. It's like looking in a mirror in the movie Twins. Remember that line?
Yes.
Anyway, enough of this stuff. Let's talk about media, marketing, advertising, or let's not for a second. Sean, we've been through this unprecedented time. Clearly, we're still going through it. It has been game-changing, life-changing. We've had opportunities to hang out, some of us with 39 other living souls, animal, vegetable, and mineral. How has this affected you? How are you doing? And we were talking earlier about tough lessons taught by quarantine and that you're grateful for them. So what are some of these tough lessons and why are you grateful for them?
Yeah, and not to be facetious or to minimize the very negativity of this situation by any stretch. But, I think since this all began nearly a year ago, I guess I'm a man about perspective. I always, I just try to keep my head about me in terms of what's important, what's of value, where are things headed, and, how can that be beneficial for everyone, for myself and for those I support. And when I look back at what we've been through, and I see the pause, I see people just stopping. I mean, frankly, before that, we were all running, and myself included, at a pace where you start to think, golly, is this ever going to stop? Is there ever a break? It's just continual. It's just, bleeding into nights and weekends, and and then the compounded, crowdness of time on your devices and your networks. And so what I felt is just a literal pause and stopping and a reevaluation of what is important. And you saw that then physically with all of our families reconvening and coming back, like I mentioned, from colleges, et cetera. And, here we are having conversations with one another, it's like the Leave It to Beaver days. You'll have to Google that if you don't know, but everyone's having dinner at 5:00 and we're getting to know one another. And certainly technology replaced a few things, but you started to value what was important and started to pay attention to it. And I think that, there's that. I also saw from a professional element, look, Joe, you and I have been in digital forever. And I say digital in sort of in air quotes because we were at the forefront of the ad banner that was created in the mid 90s. And that was there, if you remember, a placeholder to generate revenue while we figured out what these websites were, and then search and then social. And here we are 25 plus years later, and it's still digital. I mean, that's not digital. So that's why you're starting to see the acceleration of, certainly in the ad world, but then even the proliferation of some of these messaging units, now the voice strategies, artificial intelligence. You're starting to see true digital start to infect e-commerce for sure. It's just things that were gradually taking root, that were important, are completely transformational, but we're always held back because, why do it? We're making money on this other thing here. We've got this process, don't break it if it's not, don't fix if it's not broken, that type of thing. Just keep it going. Now we've been forced into a corner where we need to evolve and we need to adopt some of these next generational things. So it's a really interesting time. You're going back in time to when people used to actually personally engage and on a deeper level, whether virtually or personally, 6 feet apart. But then also on a digital transformational level, that has completely accelerated. And there's been the acceleration of the demise of some of the things that should have been dead, quite frankly, long ago. Certain media vehicles, certain business models, certain ways of doing business themselves. So it's been, I'm thankful and grateful to see that. and also to, be in a position where when we put together Chameleon Collective 5-6 years ago, Freddie Laker notably, this has been the way that we've been operating in this remote capacity, where we don't have offices, where our clients are everywhere, where we're focusing on our skills and experience hard earned through our career. And it's just been on the value and merit of delivery and return, and not necessarily that I'm showing up to an office and I'm in a meeting and I'm part of a culture that's based on, some politics. I've been out of the office space for more than a decade now, and that's probably good for everyone. But I was so much more enjoying how other people are enjoying this new dynamic of effectiveness through in a virtual capacity.
Well, and of course you've become a farmer as well, which, who knew? But you said a lot. There's a lot that I want to unpack, and we'll certainly discuss, I think, being visionary. The whole concept of having a vision implies being a visionary, but this idea of creating a structure, an operating structure that isn't built and based on physicality and overhead, the idea of a fluid, flexible, chameleon-like structure, right? And then also this idea of operating in a virtual environment, that isn't just beginner's luck, and it's not dumb luck, because you've been doing it long enough. So we'll get to that. But, you said something that really was interesting to me, that the banners were just placeholders. And it's almost like everything was just a dress rehearsal. Everything was just a dummy, a mulligan until now. That the big pause has given us cause to be able to determine what is important and what is really valuable. Tom said value what is important. It was funny because earlier I went out and I looked for some photos, and I generally choose. I choose a photo that I think looks good, and there are some practical aspects too, like it needs to be a horizontal photo. But this was the one I chose on the left. And you actually sent me a text and you're like, could you rather use this one, the one on the right? Because this is who I am. This is me. This is the real me. And I actually thought that was quite profound coming from you, Sean. But I want to ask you a question, which is, now when you look back at younger Sean, right? What would you tell younger Sean? What did younger Sean think was important that now Sean of today realizes actually wasn't as important?
Probably Rogaine, but I think,
that was a layup for you, man. You know that.
It's a good question, Joe. I think that the first answer that comes to my mind when you say that is probably something that if I'm being honest, truthfully, only am really good at, which is on the effectiveness of making powerful connections. And the truth is, I like media. I accidentally got into media. I had an internship that was I was helped by my at BBDO back in the mid '90s from an uncle of mine who worked at Gillette, and suddenly I'm in the spot department, and then suddenly, I'm working at BBDO, and then the web launches, and here I am, media. Well, the truth is that it was definitely thankful for all of that, the creativity and the new platforms and all the new ways to do business and learn. But what I truly took away from that, and what I'm benefiting from now, is on the assessment of people, of their skill set, of their personalities, of what they value, what's important, and then the assessment of what they're good at, what they're passionate about, where there's a business, where you can take those three things and apply them. And I've done that over my career in the hiring of people and the acquisition of companies and the building of my own now, et cetera, too. And I think that when I left the agency space, it was definitely that I had just gotten to a point where there was no more building. There was it was on a large enough scale, and things were starting to take root, et cetera. And I wanted to get back to that ability to build and to get to assess more people in a variety of areas. And then here I am today, where I'm certainly in the media space, but also wider in the creative and in the influencer space, and more. And I've got into the political area too, very apolitical, but just sort of I start to venture into that formula of the assessment of skills and strengths and expertise and on those people, and I pay attention then to those individuals, and whether through mentorship or placement or through gathering of intelligence from them and to them, that's been something that I don't know if I would tell myself to do anything differently, except that I'm just thankful that I'm here now, the beneficiary of that time.
But I think also, it's funny because I also stumbled into media as well. I found myself, that's when we connected for the first time. I was running interactive media at Shy Day, and I was like, I have no business being in media. I mean, really. But I came from the account side and the brand side and the creative side. But you talk about connections, and I think one of the things I always realized is people will relate to you and react to you and kiss your ass or whatever based on the company you work for and your title. But when you don't have a company and when you don't have a title, that's when that's when it's real. That's when it gets real. And that's when you see if the relationships you've built and the trust that you've earned is in fact real and two-way and substantial.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And when I first stepped out and I started my consultancy, it was the first company that I started out of the agency space was called the C4 Group. I had a lot of those people in my ear saying, "Oh, now you're going to find out who your friends are. You're not sitting on these big budgets and behind these big titles and accounts and everybody else." And frankly, I wasn't worried about it because I'd never, even on the media side, I'd never done any negotiations or deals where it wasn't a mutually beneficial structure. I actually found out just as a tactic that from a negotiating principle, while I saw a lot of my colleagues and competitors just beat the crap out of people to get the lowest rate, they got what they bought. I would go and have more of a, luxurious conversation and, give them more than what they asked. And then I get twice as what I bought. And so then you start to receive the type of return that bleeds into trust and also the ability to transcend that relationship from what you're talking about, Joe, basically is your platform. So, you're sitting there and you even today, that's part of my bio where I was in these roles. But ironically, the very reason I went on my own was to prove that I didn't need those roles and that I could actually go and take elevate from the theory of strategy and being in sort of, whether you're a CEO of an agency or you're still in middle management because you're reporting to another CEO who's reporting to another CEO who's reporting to a board. So you're just sitting there in the middle of this gigantic apparatus. What you're also protected by a series of layers of operational structure. And so I said to myself, I wanted to see if I could do this on my own. Could I build something from its origin, from a product to a marketplace, and et cetera. And to your question, I did so, and I still had my friends in the marketplace. I still had the same amount of whatever the word is, relationship. I'm thankful to tell you today, 10 years later, after being on my own, my business is still driven by inbound opportunities. I still have friends of every dimension, from brands to agencies to publishers, technology, that call me every day and say, "Hey, X, Y, and Z, can we do this, that, and the other?" And I've not had to do any outbound, which is, I think, a reflection of the fact that I may have done some things right prior to that, and that I also transition my platform in those big agencies into my own on my own in an independent stage. And there's some tactics, as you know very well, better than me, in social media, and how you can, keep your content out there and your name out there, etc. But I think that the people that I'll just tell you one more thing, since the spirit of your show is on candidness and transparency, is that there's a lot of people out there that need that. They need the title. They need that, or they need the comfort of being the insulation of a large corporate position, or they, that, and that's fine. There's no wrong answer there. I just saw it, frankly, for what it was worth. And I saw the value that there was, and there was value. And I saw the seedy underbelly, which I decided to extract, and just to carve out those things and focus on driving some businesses on your own. And as you know, when you're on your own, you can't lie to yourself. You can't manufacture things. You can't. You screw up, you feel it. You succeed, you feel it. It's yours. You own it. I think when I was doing that within the larger structure, it's you would succeed or fail, and it would just sort of reverberate, and you'd live to fight another day. Anyway, those are all the components to building, I think, a sustainable platform that you can take out on your own.
And the word, I mean, we hear about inbound marketing all the time, but I think you used, maybe we can coin a new phrase, right, which is inbound humanity, which is, but it's really just recognizing that, and I've gone through it myself. I've gone through it with others. I talk about the honeymoon, the honeymoon stage. When you lose your job, or when you're out on your own, you get to see very, very quickly who your real friends are. But more importantly, that's the honeymoon. That's when the phone is going to ring. But years later, that's when you see the real after effect, the kind of the net present value almost of these relationships. Did you put in your time? Did you earn the equity and the goodwill that comes back? Or quite frankly, when the chips are down and you need to call in a favor, are people there for you? And I think it's, the one thing that you and I were discussing as well, which is you're talking about, the momentum is swinging back to live and real connections, whether they are physical connections or virtual connections. And I think that is, if anything, that is clearly full circle. The gift of the big pause is that we've gotten a chance to realize what's important, but more importantly, who's important.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, not to get too deep, but I think people are now more comfortable in being genuine with one another.
Yeah.
Extract all the political noise and all the snarkiness and all the passive aggressive social posts and all that other stuff. When you get to people one-to-one, that's when you understand the real person behind it. I mean, I do that with my children. I just, you'll see some of the texts. I'm like, get in my office, get over here, come and talk to me. And we'll just sit. And then, that whenever you talk to somebody on a one-to-one basis, they're entirely different than in a group setting, and it's certainly a social. But I think that this is, to your point, this is an amazing time to segment and get to know people and to understand them as humans. And to understand, where do they want to be? What do they need? And if you're focused on this, genuinely focused on the benefit of that other person, that is something that has, limitless compounding growth. And again, I say genuine because, there's a difference to people wanting. You always sense those people that are using others or are willing to be used or something like that. And you have to have that sense where I could genuinely give you my time and any of my resources, and I expect nothing in return. That's the tack that I take. And sometimes things come back around, and that's great. But by and large, just the relationship of a person and a human who happens to be in these professional situations that you can help them through. I mean, I love having, I get a call a day from somebody that just says, hey, I'm struggling with this at work, or I'm negotiating these deals here, or I'm negotiating my own personal terms there, or I'm thinking about a relocation, etc. What do you think about that? And what would be your take on it? I mean, I just that's what motivates me. First of all, I'm honored that they would ask me those questions. But secondly, to give that type of information out is just as valuable as me ever receiving anything. I think that the core of that has been the why some of my relationships have extended into where I'm at today.
So there's a very interesting bridge between that conversation and the room and Union and some of the work you're doing now, and that is it's typified by a company called Cameo, but it really strategically is this idea of this. I don't want to call it the democratization of access, but celebrities were never they were never in our reach. We could never really not only hang out with them or spend time with them or get a shout out from them. We just didn't, digital gave us some of that ability. But then this company comes along called Cameo that has brought joy, surprise, and delight to people personally and professionally. Yeah. And I've been enamored with Cameo because it's just, I think it's a brilliant business. It's a brilliant business model. But I think strategically, or just from a humanity standpoint, it represents the tearing down of these false walls and the building up now of this new kind of melting pot that to me is just beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. Cameo's it's ingenious in its simplicity. The founder and CEO Stephen Galanis, and then also with Martin Blencow and Devin, they really they put something together that was powerful and magical. And Stephen had this insight through a NFL player who just sent a video to somebody and saw their reaction to it and thought, wow, what would happen if this were at scale? And so then he decided, and certainly the pandemic has accelerated their business tremendously, but I think it's here for the long haul. It's got a couple things. One, and I've seen this personally through some star friends that I have. I saw it this week, and I'll share that in a second. But the ability to, if you've ever been to a signing, some sort of like event or a Comic-Con or something like this, you just know that to the stars, those are incredibly painful things. They're just sitting there like, oh my God, I got to answer the same question 1,000 times. And, I got to, shake everyone's hands and everything like that. And so they love their fan base, but at the same time, they don't want to be around them. So that there's that magical thing. And then the fans, they look at the stars. I truly believe that they look at stars as certainly for what they are and for their talent, but they're looking at it in more of like a nostalgic reflection of why that person was important to them during what period of time. And they're looking at and I mean, honestly, I the only time I get starstruck is when I see a star that I grew up when I was a boy, when I was a teenager, whether it was a 85 Bears or somebody like, when I meet some of those guys, I'm like, oh, I can't speak. It's amazing, even today. So the combination of that star being personally available to them, saying their name, and them having a keepsake to it, and then the star never having to leave their living room and using their iPhone, and it's a brilliant DTC connection. It's an automatic payment back to them is just a magical thing. And so now Cameo was started here in Chicago, and now it's virtual. They're everywhere, going international. And we work with them with brands and with talent and some other advisory investments, et cetera. But they're just a absolute rocket ship.
I'll tell you a little personal story, which is my son in 2020. He had his bar mitzvah. We were meant to go to Israel and Greece. He obviously, all of that just came crashing down, and we ended up doing something in our backyard. It was actually very, very special and meaningful. But I managed to get a cameo from Jan Vertonghen, who plays for my team, Tottenham Hotspur. And it just so happens, because we were doing it on Zoom, that you can actually get, when you download the files from Zoom, you can actually see, the speaker view or the shared, view, because we were showing a montage. But we got one view where I just got to see my son's face the whole time. And that moment was worth, it was beyond priceless. And I think the thing that's so amazing about it, Sean, is even if we know the game, right, it doesn't matter, because we all become children again. It is so pure, that surprise and delight, it's so pure. Even if we know what's going on, it just feels good. And the ability to make someone feel good is great.
It really is. The story I was going to share was, if we're connected on social, last week or the last 2 weeks have been pretty interesting in the Finnegan household, where both and my wife's Melody, her dad, both were diagnosed with late stage forms of cancer. And she jetted down to Arizona, and I went down to Florida, and they're thankfully they're in recovery. They've got long roads ahead of them. I'll keep you updated on this. But my point is that we did a few cameos, and man, I as long as I've been affiliated with this company, just friends and working with them with talent and business, etc. It really struck me back how, I'm sitting there watching my dad watch these videos from a few stars that we knew, and they're very, very personal, very much personalized the business or the content to them. And just saw him well up and just motivate him. And it was awesome. So great combination.
And we certainly, you and I have spoken about it, but we wish them a speedy recovery. My mom has cancer as well. And we just hope that in our lifetime, clearly there will be a cure. And if not our lifetime, certainly our children's. Sean, not that you need a promotion and plugs for your entrepreneurial ventures, but as I alluded to earlier, Chameleon is now in its 6th year, I think, the Chameleon Collective, and as I did say earlier, you had to have been ahead of your time, because this idea of this Hollywood fluid model to teams and talent and operating virtually, now it's coming to fruition. So you've built not only Chameleon, but all these sub-brands and these spin-offs, in particular The Room. And that's where you've also integrated Cameo as well. So just talk a little bit about where the puck is right now, and quite frankly, even with respect to Union, where you see it heading.
Yeah, well, just focusing on The Room, it really was a collaboration of things that I am passionate about and want to focus my time on, and also a need in the marketplace where, who is that scary person in the background?
that is not The Room in particular. That is good old Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, I get that. I thought it might have been Danny Fishman, but with a wig. Clearly. Yeah, it's what Danny wants to be. It's what
hair extensions.
Yeah, we're living off that branding a little bit, but hopefully we're differentiating outside of it. But 2.5 years ago at Chameleon, where we have the ability to incubate our own businesses out of the platform and actually have some of our partners. We've got about 100 partners within Chameleon, and we collaborate and we design and invest and build these things. And I saw a real need in the event space. Truthfully, there's nothing new about an event, particularly in the marketing business, where we'll find time for anything to put together. But I saw the complete need for an inversion of the ratio of an event. You go to these big events and small, and you just see predominantly it's sold almost a farce, where it's sold to these publishers and technology companies, basically saying, hey, this CMO of this Fortune 100 brand is going to be there. And so you should, come and buy a sponsorship and bring all the sales team. And and then you get to the event and the CMO like runs up on stage and runs out and suddenly it's a whole sales feeding fest. And so, I feel bad for the vendors because they're sitting there investing their time and resources. They're looking for an ROI. On the flip side, being at the agency, I know, and having friends in the brand space, that they are genuinely there to the good ones are there to meet, to learn about a new business model, to actually apply that if it makes sense for their business. But they can't because they're just being inundated with the volume of sellers. And so I just looked at that and I thought, well, what if we just completely went the opposite direction and made this predominantly about the media buying decision makers, the brands and sometimes agencies, and putting them in there. And then we only had one sponsor. And so thus was born The Room. And so each one of them, that was the good old days of getting back together live. We were 15 total people, 10 brands, 2 people from The Room, a few people from the we even call them underwriters. They're not sponsors. And it's all off the record. We have these complex conversations. It all stays in the room. It may be the room where it happens, but it doesn't leave the room. And we don't attribute any comments or anything. So people get to learn and they get to ask genuine questions, and they walk out of there. So they've connected. They've discussed some complex content, and then we also reconnect everybody for sales meetings after that. So there's a conversion element to it. I feel like that was my last point, Joe, on The Room, is that as much as I think the event space in the marketplace does a really bad job of the ratio, I think that they're completely unaccountable, where they would just throw these meetings together with people with titles that didn't have any decision-making power, or they're self-promoters or panel people, et cetera. And then they would just not turn into any business. We're very discriminating on whom we invite into the room from a brand and agency side, and we then make sure that there's a follow through, and so there's a high degree of people doing business on the back end, which is what people are looking for.
One more question about this model. I was actually in a room on Clubhouse over the weekend talking about the future of conferences, and there is a consensus that conferences are not coming back at least until 2022. But one of the things that I spoke about is, and I learned this because one of my passions is trying to do more teaching, that there is this concept called the flipped classroom. And it's happening right now. It was happening even before COVID, where actually the lessons are taking place outside of the classroom and the homework is now taking place inside the classroom. And I actually see the flipped conferences and flipped events happening as well. In your opinion, because, listen, a nice glass of wine and steak, don't knock what you can't afford. But ultimately, when you put the two, on an equal footing, the virtual room or the physical room, does one, how do they hold up against each other? And where do you see this heading long term?
Yeah, I think great question. I think that, the virtual room was thrust upon us in a good way. We started that back in March. We pivoted quite quickly. We've done nearly 80 of them since then. And we hope to, our gut is that by summer, late fall, we'll be able to reconvene in a live capacity again. And the two will coexist. They will augment one another. And I think that to your point on the flipping, absolutely, that's why the room was created, to flip the inefficiency of the system on its head right now, and for people to. And this is why we've been doing, frankly, quite well, because we can all go to the content versions of CES, South by, Cannes, Adweek, and more. And those are great. But at the same time, you're not necessarily meeting people. And this is now and you're not flipping through hundreds of pages on Zoom to go and try and talk to somebody, or even in micro rooms. It's really, they work to varying degrees, but we think we're the solution to that. I'll tell you one more thing. We did a strategic alliance with the American Advertising Federation. Everybody knows our dear Steve Pacheco at the helm, who have, they have 40,000 professional members around the country, and we can't always get to everybody on a that local and micro of a level. So we're starting to do micro rooms and in a virtual capacity for local news and local media and local creative as well. So I think you'll have continued. And also international, by the way. With the room, we've done rooms in. We just did one last week in the UK. With a couple weeks before in Singapore. We've got a few more in South America. So it starts to manage time zones for companies that are looking to reach that target, but can't always be there live.
If I can just put a little bow on that, what you really are saying is, it's not really physical or virtual. It's quality over quantity. It's intimacy and relationships above how many business cards did you stack up, where the percentage of getting a genuine response is zero. Guess who's here? Steve is here, and he said AAF, and the room is off to a great start. Thanks to Sean. Nick Johnson says, gents, you're two of my faves. It's been a blast. Have to hop. And you're both demented and sad but social, which I will take as a compliment to be in the same category as you, Sean. And Martin Albarda says, thanks for sharing as always, giving your guests space to talk and answer is awesome. I tried to interrupt, but he wouldn't let me get a word in edgeways. Sean, there are only two more things to do. One is we always have a quote of the episode. And in keeping with the idea of chameleons, I'm inherently a chameleon. To not evolve is to not live. That is your quote.
Wow.
No, it's the quote for you. But yeah, sure.
I was like, that's too intelligent.
It wasn't Tommy Wiseau. It was actually Andrew Day. It's funny when you look for quotes on chameleons, all of the people, for the most part, that come up are singers, songwriters, actors who understand what it is to adapt, to morph, and play characters in their lives. There is one more thing I have to ask of you before we go to our Zoom after show, which is the Corona question of the week. You get to bat lead off or catch lead off, whatever, to use your a bad baseball analogy, because I understand baseball and I understand that catching lead off makes no sense. But your question, and I don't know if this works in the room, but what is your biggest vice? What is Sean Finnegan's biggest vice? Spill the beans. No one's here. It's just the two of us.
Just the two of us. Yeah, nothing. I'm perfect. I don't have no idea how to answer.
We knew that.
No, I think vice. Well, let me. You tackled one earlier about your weight and drinking, and I'll just be transparent that I think that the volume of drinking is. You just tracked on social and you just saw that it was a badge of honor to fill your recycling bin with bottles, and you start to, and I took a look at that and I put a stop to it, quite frankly. So just last fall, I just decided to shelve it and curb it considerably. So I think that was something that's sort of running rampant in our business, and certainly personally affecting me. And so that was one of the areas. If that's how you wanted me to answer, I'm not embarrassed to tell you that that's something that I've personally decided to curb considerably.
Yeah. Well, as I said to you, I cut it down from half a bottle a night, which I've done for maybe 6 months, and I'm kind of not so proud of it, to one glass. And I'm actually sleeping better as well. And I mean, we're going to go into the Zoom after show right now. If you want to hang out with Sean and myself, you can actually and tell us what your vice is. Come and hang out on Zoom with us. But certainly there was a seedy underbelly of conferences and networking in the past that has involved maybe a little bit too much wine. But we'll save that for the Zoom after show. This has been guest number 205. I can honestly say the best guest to date, even though I will say that again tomorrow. It doesn't matter. for just 24 hours, Sean. It's only you and me, my friend. The co-founder of Chameleon Collective and The Room, and a new venture called Union, which you have to go and find out about. You can connect with Sean on Twitter. You can connect with these companies on Twitter as well. You can connect with him on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and find out more about, I can't even call it a revolutionary model and visionary model, because that would imply that it's coming. It's not coming. It's here already. Its time has come, and its time is now. Sean, this has been an absolute pleasure. You know, by the way, before we go over to the Zoom after show, I got to say, like, have you and I ever sat down and just spoken for like almost an hour, just like this?
No, never.
And that to me has been the joy. You know, you talk about silver linings. This has been a joy for me today, and the joy of this quarantine, despite all of the bad stuff. But I am going to leave you with one of my famous friends, who always gets to determine whether my guest was a hit or a miss, Mr. Chuck Norris.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
Not a cameo at all, by the way, just letting you know.
No.
Thank you for watching Corona TV with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. Corona TV is the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing. The after show on Zoom starts right now at bit.ly/Corona TV After Show. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show at coronatv.show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, text Corona TV to 66866 or visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.